Welcome to Kevin's European Garage, and today I'm going to be changing the front struts on my 2013 Porsche Cayenne. So I'm going to be changing the front strut on my Cayenne over here, and I'm also going to change the strut top at the same time. I got a little rattle in the front, so I'm just going to change everything just to make sure that the rattle goes away. And plus, it's got 90,000+ miles on it. It's probably about time to change it. And this is a factory Porsche mount, and this is just a regular Bilstein OE replacement strut. As you can see on here, we're going to have to replace the strut perch too. So let's get started. And located right there are the 3 nuts that hold on the strut top. Okay, so now you see I got the tire off. I got the car up on jack stands, and I got the jacks in place over here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the front sway bar link from the sway bar. And I'm going to leave this thing on here. These bolts are, I don't want to say they're not easy to get to, but I'm going to take the whole thing off in one piece. So first I'm just going to take this thing off over here. And next we're going to take off this lower nut over here, which connects the bottom of the strut to the control arm. So we're going to take that off next. Alright, so now you got the strut out. So you can just lower this jack up and down a little bit. Make that bolt come out easy. Alright, so now next we need to get this thing up and out of the way over to here, so you can actually kind of slide this out of place. You can kind of move it around a little bit. So we're going to take this thing off. We're just going to take this thing out, give us a little slack over here. I don't want to use the nut that we're supposed to keep on here, so I'm going to just grab any old nut they have floating around. I'm going to put on here. Normally I would just smack with a hammer, but since it's aluminum, I'm not, I really don't want to do that, so I'm going to pull like this. And pop, there she goes. Okay, so now you got this out of the way. You get a little extra room trying to get that strut out. So now we're going to take out the 3 nuts on the top that hold it into place. Alright, had a little malfunction with my camera. So let's start back at the beginning here. So I got this free from up top, and then now the next thing is that we don't have enough room. Even with disconnected, we don't have enough room to get this strut out. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to pull out the axle and kind of slide this whole thing apart over here in order to get the strut out. I got my impact on here. Take off the nut and a brass hammer to tap it lightly. The brass hammer, we don't have to worry about damaging the threads if you tap lightly. You can see here, you got a little tension on this, so we're gonna have to remove this. So you have to end up disconnecting this completely. Lift this thing up high enough so that you can get out from underneath here. So once you push down, just completely, slide this thing forward. Just get past the body and get it out of the car. Not easy. So I'll just jack this thing up to get a little pressure off of it. Alright, so put this thing back up over here just to kind of get it out of the way. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to go on to disassembly of the strut. Okay, so here's the strut assembly out of the car. In hindsight, taking this thing off would have been a little bit easier, so take that off now. Alright, so now we got it out. I just have to make a note of the orientation of the way that this thing is pointed. So it looks like that this point right here lines straight directly with the middle over here. So even though I'm not using this strut top, I'm going to mark it. So I'm just going to go there, and then I'm going to mark it so it's straight down over here, right on this. And then we also have to Make sure we line this thing up properly. It looks at the orientation, doesn't really matter. This doesn't make a difference. They're all the same. Yep, they are all the same. Okay, so I got my spring compressor over here. This is a Pittsburgh Harbor Freight spring compressor. Hopefully, I know Harbor Freight lately hasn't been having a too good track record with their jack stands. Hopefully their spring compressor is something different. So let's set this thing up on here. This thing is pretty heavy duty and heavy duty. So, all right. So now it's set on there. I got these little locking pins in place. Let's compress this and see what happens. Let's take this nut off. I don't see how this thing has got any more pressure left on it. Normally, you don't want to do this because you don't want to spin the strut, but since we're replacing the strut, it doesn't matter. So, this thing is just really tight on there. Here is the strut, the spring, and everything. Oh, one's tight. This one is a lot easier to push. So now we gotta bang off this strut perch. A little scribe mark on it so we know which one's the front. Give it a couple taps to get it down. Here's the perch. Take this and put this perch back on. We know where our scribe mark is, so we know that this way points forward. I'm gonna mark the one that points forward. You see the star mark for the one that points forward. And over here, directly opposite of it, is how the spring sits. We'll take this out, and then the plastic piece that goes underneath it. Okay, so we got this lined up in there. Now let's start reassembling this strut. We'll tap down this, hold it in place. It doesn't really tap down there, it just kind of forced on pressure. So what we'll do is then we're just going to tape it. Use a little gaff tape. Keep the orientation right. I'll just put this thing together. Shut up through and get it through the bump stop. Here's our mark up here. So this is our front of the strut. So we need to mark and spin this so that this is at the front. Alright, so that's the front. The nut on and to get this thing tightened up. Alright, after I've been messing around with this thing, trying to get this thing to line up right, I can't. Unfortunately, I had to go and get a different spring compressor, so I'm going to have to undo this spring, recompress it to try to get it straight, because this thing's crooked with this thing, because this thing doesn't allow you to, adjust from side to side, so this thing's a little crooked, and it's making it so it's impossible for this to go on. Finally. Oh, the spring compressor at the time seemed like it was a good idea. Doesn't quite do what I need to get it done, unfortunately. So now we got to go to a different kind of spring compressor, and it's a kind that I'm not the most happy using, but it is what it is. This is the new one. Like I said, it's not the kind I really like. I think it's the only thing that's gonna let me get in and be able to put this thing down straight, because this thing is all messed up. With it being crooked, I can't get it in. At least with this one, I'll be able to put it on straight. One thing I can say about this thing, at least it's compressing it equally on both sides. I said that was the problem. Okay, after some fighting, finally tightened these things down enough where I can finally get this thing on there. You can see the spring is compressed quite a bit. The next thing is to get this nut on over here. And I'm still gonna have to push this thing down just a little bit just to get the nut on there, because I'm afraid to actually keep on tightening this coil spring down. I mean, I don't know how good these things are, and I don't really want to find out. Alright, so I got the nut on. So I just realized that I cannot find my old socket that's used for doing springs. You know, actually, in order to get this nut on, you don't want to spin. You don't really want to spin the strut when you're tightening it down. So what you really need to do is you got to put this. You need like a socket that's actually got like a hole in it, and it goes inside there. But unfortunately, I can't find mine. So today I'm going to sacrifice a socket. I'm going to make my own socket by cutting up another socket. And that's it. That's how you make one. Or actually hack one together. It wasn't a good socket, just a Craftsman one, so not the big deal. It's not like it's one of my Snap-on or Mac ones. So, all right, now I can tighten up that, and then I can finish taking off the spring compressor. That's as tight as I can get it. All right, so you gotta recheck the alignment again as it keeps on moving. Not quite the DIY job. So this thing is in. All right, it's ready to go back into the car. All right, now I'm gonna try to get this thing back in here. Slide it on in. Just barely fits. There you go. All right, and it goes. Get the weight off this. All right, so get that in place. Now to the engine compartment. Let's put those 3 nuts on the strut top. Okay, here's the strut top. It's in place. Just gonna get this little bracket up here again. All right, brackets on. All right, back to the bottom. We'll tighten those and torque them later. That's one last one. All right, let's connection back up. Okay, so it's going to tighten this thing up. This gets torqued to 63 foot-pounds. Okay, now it's time to put in that lower bolt. So bolt comes in the back side, comes out to the front over here. And we're just going to have to tweak it a little bit. So you have to push through. Just going to give it a little tap to finish it up. since my torque wrench doesn't go to the 111 foot-pounds that it's supposed to be, I'm just going to torque it down using my impact gun. But also with this one, I would suggest putting up and getting some pressure on there before you tighten it down. Try to mimic the load of the suspension on it, because it is a bushing. And if you tighten up any other way, you could put a preload on it. Okay, so now next we're gonna go back and we're gonna go put the save our links in. Get the upper bolt over here. Let's get this bottom one on. Both of these get to 81.5 foot-pounds. Again, 81.5 foot-pounds. Okay, so now it's time to put the axle nut back on. This thing gets torqued to 340 foot-pounds, which is something that'd be on my torque wrench. So this is another one that's going to be done with the impact gun. Okay, so that does it for down here. We got the sway bar link up. We got the strut to the lower control arm done, and we also have the upper like wishbone, I guess you want to call this, or the upper control arm to the knuckle done. So now it's time to do the 3 bolts that are up top. Okay, so these are torqued to 44 foot-pounds. And now that those are tight, we can put back on the covers. So that takes it from the top side. Last thing left is just to put the wheel back on the car and take it off the jack stands. Okay, so that completes how to change a strut in a 2013 or the 958 Porsche Cayenne that doesn't have the air suspension. It's pretty, I mean, you can do it at home. You just have to have the proper coil spring compressor. Not like the first one I had. The second one, it works. It just it's a little bit more. It's a little hard to use, but it still works. So you can do it at home. Just don't get that big one like that, because that just doesn't work at all. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll have some more videos coming up soon. Thanks.